A lot of times our interactions are superficial, and I think Gulen leads us into a deeper understanding, a deeper relationship with each other, and so I have nothing but admiration and respect for him. A number of Hizmet schools over the years, some here in the United States. Hospitals. My name is Bob Mann. I'm a professor of mass communication at Louisiana State University in Baton Rouge. I became familiar with Hizmet through my various trips to Turkey over the years. I've been to Turkey 6 times over the last 6 years and have been in the homes of many Hizmet followers, people involved in the movement, gotten to know people involved in Hizmet in the United States here in Baton Rouge. But mainly I think I would say that I've gotten to know Hizmet mostly through my trips to Turkey and being in people's homes and talking to them about it, going to Hizmet schools, going to Hizmet organizations, and seeing it firsthand. I have to say that I am almost overwhelmed when I think of Hizmet and what it means to me, what it means to the people of Turkey, what it means to this community of Baton Rouge and to the world. It's really been something that's changed my life, changed my view of the world, influenced my view of people to see an organization, a group of Muslims who believe deeply in dialogue with the West, with Christians, with Jews, with people of other faiths, who reach out in such a compassionate way to build those bridges across our cultures and across our religious beliefs. And I don't think that there are many organizations in the Christian world who are doing that as intensively and as effectively as Hizmet is, and it really impresses me, and it kind of, as a Christian, it kind of shames me a little bit to see the deficiencies that I think we have on the Christian side of reaching out to people of other faiths, and I wish we were doing more of it in our community. I'm really grateful that there are Turkish people in Baton Rouge and in Louisiana, New Orleans, who have come into our midst and have reached out and created interfaith dialogue that I think is needed and wasn't there before Hizmet appeared on the scene. I have gotten to know Fethullah Gulen through his writings over the years. I didn't know anything about him at all before I went to Turkey the first time. And when I got back, I started reading his writings. I started reading about him. I've read a number of books about him. Spent a lot of time talking to his followers here in the United States and in Turkey, and have gotten to know a lot about him and what he believes and what he teaches. And I have to say that I consider myself a member of the movement. I'm a follower of his. I greatly admire what he does, what he teaches. I have a tremendous amount of admiration for the people who are motivated by his teachings and are inspired by his teachings to do what they do in service, education, dialogue, interfaith dialogue. We need more people like him in this world. We need more people encouraging people of all faiths to get together and talk, get to know each other better in a deeper way. And I think that's one of the greatest contributions that he's made, is getting people together in a very in a much deeper way than just a casual conversation, but over meals, in being in people's homes and talking to them, getting to know them as friends in a way that we don't do. A lot of times our interactions are superficial, and I think Gulen leads us into a deeper understanding, a deeper relationship with each other, and so I have nothing but admiration and respect for him and what he teaches and what he has accomplished in the United States and around the world. The Gulen movement, Hizmet, I think has done a lot. It's hard to say, it's hard to choose one thing, but I think for me, it has been the interfaith dialogue. It has been cultural, building those cultural bridges, encouraging people of different faiths, different backgrounds to talk to one another and get to know each other in a deeper, almost spiritual way. He's done a lot in education. He's certainly done a lot in a lot of other areas of service, helping people in need, and his movement has changed a lot of lives. But I think in this community, I think in my life, his signature contribution has been in the area of dialogue across cultures and faiths. Islam in the United States, and especially in the American South, has a problem as far as its reputation. We've got a lot of politicians who are taking advantage of fear and ignorance about Islam, about Muslims in general, and are, I think, presenting a very distorted view of Muslims and the Muslim faith. And we need more people like Fethullah Gulen telling a different story. We need the Hizmet movement out there front and center, showing people that the Muslim faith is not as they've understood it. And I think that the contribution that the Gulen has made to that is that he's encouraged Christians and Jews to get to know and become friends with Muslims. And that, I know, among me, my friends, my students, has radically changed my view of Islam. Because when you get to know somebody, when you get to know them as a person, when you're in their homes, when you meet their children, when you meet their parents, when you meet their neighbors, when you break bread, when you have a meal with them, it changes the relationship. And I no longer see my Muslim friends as Muslims. I see them as people. I see them as friends first. I see them as fellow human beings, fellow worshipers of God, worshiping the same God. And the fact of their faith is almost insignificant now. And that's because for my life, in my personal experience, that's because of the influence of Gulen and the Gulen movement of Hizmet, bringing me into those situations that I would not have been in otherwise. And I'm very grateful, and I thank God for that. I visited a number of Hizmet schools around Turkey over the years, and some here in the United States. I have seen a side of Hizmet that I don't think a lot of people get to see, and that's in the schools, the work that the Gulen movement does in the schools. And it's impressive because I think it probably would defy or surprise people, defy their expectations to see that these schools are not teaching religion, they're not teaching anything about Islam. They're stressing good education, and we need that in the United States. We need that here in Louisiana. We need good schools, and these Hizmet schools are good schools and are performing really well. But the ones in Turkey that I visited are amazing places. And I've met the teachers, I've met the students, I've met the administrators in city after city, and they impress me as some of the best schools that I've ever seen. They certainly have incredible facilities, they're well funded, they have great teachers who are dedicated to education. They bring in young people who would not otherwise have a chance for that kind of education. And so I'm very impressed with the work that Hizmet does in education, and I think it's one of its greatest contributions to Turkey, the United States, and the world. I've seen it firsthand. I've been to Kimse Yakmu organization, the headquarters, a number of times, and I've seen the work they've done. I've read about the work they've done all throughout the world, and especially in Turkey. And it's impressive. It's impressive to see the scope of the work. It's very, very impressive to see the commitment of the people who work for those organizations who are doing that work. And it's distressing to me to see that the Turkish government has chosen to try to punish this organization because of its affiliation with Hizmet, because I think it's unfortunate and it hurts people. But but the commitment of that organization and the commitment of Hizmet to service, which I think is because the name of the name Hizmet says it all. It's about service. It's about helping people. It's about meeting people at the time of their greatest need or their deepest despair. And Hizmet is clearly committed to that in a profound way. And it does great work in education. It does great work with dialogue. But it seems to me that its core mission has been about helping people, about feeding people, clothing people, giving them shelter, and it clearly does that in a really amazing way. I think that Hizmet is true. I think that it's real. It's not a facade. It's not a mirage. It's a real organization or a real movement of real people who care deeply about their fellow men and women, who want to help, who want to be of service to others, to humanity, to God. If you don't believe it, I would say come to Turkey and see it for yourself. It'll change your mind. If you don't believe it, go find and spend some time with Turkish people in your community, and they're everywhere doing this work. Go spend some time and see what they do, and you'll be a believer. I used to think that the Hizmet movement was didn't tell its story well enough. And I think that Hizmet probably could be a little bit more proactive in telling its story, but I think that's changing. I think the first couple of years I went to Turkey, I would have said that I didn't really know enough about Hizmet. It wasn't explained to me well. I sort of had to figure it out for myself and learn for myself. And in successive years, I think the movement is doing a better job of telling its story around the world. And I think part of that is just because of the way that it's being persecuted in Turkey right now. And the Western press is telling its story in a way that it hasn't before. So what used to be my criticism is not really so much criticism anymore. I think that a lot of that mystery is disappearing now. And Hizmet is doing a pretty good job of telling the world what it is and what it's about.
Hizmet really makes an effort to reach out to other faiths, and it has looked for ways that other faiths can share their understanding, and also that they can be receptive to the message that Islam can bring. And
Hizmet's interfaith activities are an important educational tool which lead to more understanding and respect and cooperation between people of very different religious faith traditions.